Hey, assuming you can hear me, today what I thought I would do is show you how to make these. I'm not sure if the video is coming through okay. If you're watching, I had to reset up my software today. If you wouldn't mind giving me a comment to see, I think it's coming through okay. I'm looking at the Facebook part of it. It looks better than what's going on my TV. But anyway, show you how to make one of these. We're going to start today by making the body, right? So the nose is an additional piece. And this particular snowman, and the one we're going to do today, is a one-piece snowman. I've made several in the past. This was probably the first year of making them, and then I started making them two-piece. Ooh, that picture did not work. Let's see if we can make it. And we're not going to be able to make it smaller. I had a lot of problems with my software today. Anyway, we changed it around a little bit and sell a lot more of those probably these days than I do the one piece. But the one piece is easier to make, it's faster to make. Let's see if I can get, man, I'm getting close. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So anyway, so they kind of evolved from that to this, and I just thought I'd show you how I make these things. Oh good, Clinton says we can hear me. Great, I hope you can see me. I'm probably not going to respond to comments during the video because I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff. But anyway, so this week I'll show you how to make the body. Next week I'll show you how I make the hands, because I use a spot welder to weld up little pieces of wire. Today, let me switch over to this view. And you can kind of watch me in the corner, but we're going to use a rough and gouge, which is this guy, and we're going to make this piece of wood round, obviously with that, and then all the rest of the work is done with a spindle gouge. This is a detail spindle gouge, and this is just a regular, well actually this is a detailed spindle gouge too, it's just bigger. Okay, I can do most everything I need to do with that. I do have a place up under the hat. When I'm doing the hat, I get up underneath there with this thing, and that helps me kind of undercut that just a little bit. So you can see that this is roughly a piece of wood about the same size as this particular snowman, so we'll try to make something close to that. And then I also burn the rim. So let's see what we can get accomplished here real quickly. On this, for this particular project, we want to run the lathe fast. So I have a variable speed lathe, but I'm going to change it over to the fast set of pulleys. Probably should have done that beforehand, but like I said, I spent the last hour messing around with my software. Okay, so that spins, that's pretty good. I took time before I started this to kind of mark the centers of the pieces of wood. However, you know, I'm fond of telling people it doesn't really matter if you get it exactly on center, because by the time you get done rounding it out, it's going to be centered. Also, should kind of let you know what I'm using to drive this with. So this is a steb center, and this is a live center. And the reason that I use that when I do snowmen is because usually I'm doing quite a few of them, and you can actually have the lathe running. I'll start it up. Let's turn the speed way down for right now. So the lathe is actually spinning right now, but I can hold the piece still because there's a dimple in the wood. And then if I want to get the piece running, then I run the tailstock up and push it against the drive center of the stebs, and then it starts driving it. So that's really pretty handy if you're trying to do 20 or 30 of these all at once. Today we'll just do 1 or 2. All right, well, let me speed this up. I think I got it round. Okay. Perfect. Okay. I was feeling something, but I think that was that knot. So there is a little flat space right there, which you may or may not be able to see if I turn it like that. I'm going to start, and I'm going to turn the hat down here. And then I work my way back and make the bottom, and then I kind of peel the bottom away as much as I possibly can. Then I worry about sawing off the bottom and the top at the very end. So start with the hat. Now there's a little dimple in this top piece of the wood, and if you don't want it in the top of your hat, you gotta cut down just a little bit. And the next thing I want to do is kind of decide how big I want the top of the hat to be. And what shape I want it to be. I'll do a shape similar to the one that I showed you, where the top's a little bigger, it swoops down like this. Okay? Use a little bit bigger spindle gouge. Okay, so that's a little thick for a band. So I'm gonna I think that would probably be a good band, and so I might use this tool here to delineate that just a little bit, and then I know that that's going to be like the band of the hat. Okay, so one of the things you'll notice on this guy is that the band is darker. And I can do that while it's right here on the lathe. If I can find a little piece of wood. Something about the width of the band that I want to make. And I'm just going to start up the lathe and I'm just going to hold this against it. And that'll create some friction. And it burns the band in. Usually I get a little, and I did, I burned a little bit onto the hat brim. I'm going to come back and clean that up. Anyway, that's that. So the next thing is the brim of the hat. So I don't want it to be as big as I've currently got it. So I'm going to cut it down just a little bit. And I have a tendency to cut in a little bit to kind of give it a little bit of a detail. And then I got to get to the head. So the head's not going to be as big as the brim. So it's going to be up under the hat a little bit. You got to be careful not to make it too pointy. It makes it look like the hat's sitting on top of the head instead of the hat being worn by the snowman. So here, that's where this tool comes in really handy. Okay, so that's pretty much that. Now I'm going to make the head just a shade smaller. I'm going to raise my tool rest just a bit. Make it a little easier. So all I'm trying to do is kind of roll a bead. I'm trying to take as clean of a cut as I possibly can. The benefit of that is then I have less sanding to do later. Although this is side grain, so it'll sand pretty easy. You just have to kind of decide how far down do I want that ball to go. I know the next ball is going to be bigger, but not a ton bigger. The good news about a snowman is everybody knows what a snowman should look like. And so it's kind of a thing where if you mess it up a little bit, people still know it's a snowman. So the balls don't have to be perfectly round. Matter of fact, on purpose, I'm going to make the bottom ball nowhere near as big. I mean, nowhere near round. So from there, that's pretty good. And we just got to make the bottom look somewhat shapely. And really all I'm looking for is a kind of a constant curve. You want the bottom small, but you don't want it so small that it won't stand up. And so, even though this bottom ball is nowhere near round, you recognize that as a snowman. So, from here, I just sand it. I start usually with 150. Then 250. And since I got it sitting here in my hands, we'll do 320. And then, as I have a tendency to do on a lot of things, I use this stuff called Dr. Kirk's Scratch Free, and it's just beeswax, mineral oil, and I think pumice in it. And it does a good job of sanding out the sanding marks left by the sandpaper. You buff it for a little bit. You got to do this after you burn the hat rim, because the wax and oil in this make it so that the brim won't burn because there's no friction. And then from here, I'm just going to cut this nub down as much as I can, and then I got to work on making the bottom not be so large either. So should have left myself a little more room. My tool doesn't want to get any further. And then the bottom. And then, as I mentioned, right, I can keep the lathe moving, but take it off and I'll sand that, I'll cut that off and sand those off and do the next one. So this is an interesting piece of wood. It's missing a corner, it's a little spalted. It may not make a very good snowman. We'll give it a try. And here it's kind of, the integrity of the wood's not good out here. This is older wood. It spalted a little bit, and yeah, there's a crack there. We'll see it. We may have to make the hat really tall on this one because that's going to fall off. But that's okay. Not every snowman has to be the same. So let's give that a shot. See if we're down past that crack. I think we probably are. So now I can make some real cuts. I may have done what I said you shouldn't do. The hat is too big for the head. So, still think the hat's too big. It's not the best one I've ever done, but it's not horrible. Usually you want to slow down when you're sanding, just keep from building up heat. I think we're missing a chunk in the hat. Yeah, I can feel it. It remains to be seen as to whether or not that'll be acceptable. Or if I feel like there's a flat on the piece here. And there is, flat right there. Kind of using my spindle gouge like a roughing gouge. Maybe not advisable if you're not really comfortable with your tools. There we go. Mostly gone, I think. I'm going to sacrifice a little of the top of this hat. So, probably should have done that first. Could take a parting tool down here. This might not be the parting tool I would use normally, but it's a good parting tool. Just got to lower your tool rest quite a bit. The problem with parting tools is they have a tendency to tear the wood a little bit. So you got to be somewhat careful. But there you go. That's a pretty small snowman, and yes, I did lose part of the hat. You can probably see it right there. But he's kind of a scrappy looking snowman anyway, so not too bad. So that's it. I mean, I probably make, when I get going, between 6 and 10 of these bodies an hour, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe a little bit less. Then I gotta do stuff to paint the faces on. Gotta make noses, put those in. Well, those are the two we made tonight, and this was one of the very first ones I ever made. I probably took a lot more time on him, but next week I'll show you guys how to make the arms and the nose, and you can probably figure out that's black paint on there for his smile and buttons, and I don't generally put a finish on them. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.